What it do, y'all? Hey, I'm back in the office, man, with some more content for y'all. This shit crazy, didn't it? Straight up, man, like, what the hell? You mean to tell me this nigga was mixing human flesh with real meat? Pause. You don't get no crazier than that. And shout out to I think it's True Crime Department for the content. But we're gonna react to this together, man. This right here is that shit just make you don't even want to go get nothing to eat from nowhere, man. Cause you don't know what these people be on. You don't. Like nigga and nigga, we say everything tastes like chicken. That's why they say the shit they say, man. But we're gonna check this out though, man. For real.
Grilled meat filled the Texas air, luring hungry customers to Bennett's Smokehouse and Grill, a family-owned restaurant with a burger so mouth-watering that people traveled across state lines just to get a taste. But behind the sizzling griddles and secret spice blends was something far more disturbing. Customers believed they were eating the best beef in Houston, but the truth? They had no idea what they were actually consuming. No one knew the dark truth until one person got too close. That person was Renee Bennett, the chef's own wife. And by the time she realized what was happening, it was already too late. We hear about serial killers hiding in plain sight, about murderers who blend seamlessly into society. But a chef, serving his victims to unsuspecting customers? That's something out of a nightmare. What drives a man to turn his restaurant into a slaughterhouse?
Wow. Nigga, when you lost for words, nigga. This nigga feeding niggas. Humans, man. What the is, man? Wow.
And how many people unknowingly took a bite of his crimes? This is True Crime Department, where we unravel the most shocking, unthinkable crimes ever committed.
Shout out to
If
you.
you think you can stomach the truth, subscribe now and turn on notifications. We expose the darkest corners of human nature. Marcel Bennett's hands had been familiar with the weight of a knife long before he ever stepped foot in a kitchen. He was born into violence and precision, raised in the back rooms of his father's meat processing plant, where the air was always thick with the scent of raw flesh and bleach. From the time he was tall enough to reach the counter, his father, Clyde Bennett, made sure he knew the difference between a clean cut and a messy one. Clyde wasn't just a butcher, he was a man with secrets. The kind of man whose business stayed open, not because of its quality, but because of who he owed favors to. Marcel grew up in an environment where debts weren't paid in cash, but in meat, silence, and blood. At just 10 years old, Marcel watched his father handle more than just animal carcasses. Some nights, strange men would come through the back door, dropping off bundles wrapped in thick plastic. Clyde never explained. He never.
So, they was paying that nigga to get rid of shit. You hear me? They was paying that nigga to chop niggas up. Wow. Flabbergasted, man. Straight up, man. What?
Needed to. But Marcel was sharp. He listened. He watched. And he understood. By the time Marcel was a teenager, he could disassemble an entire animal with surgical precision. He knew pressure points, how to bleed a body properly, how to make cuts that left little evidence behind. His father always told him, a butcher and a killer aren't so different.
Damn. OG telling you that? That's probably why nigga went crazy. Because that nigga probably looked at it like, shit, nigga, if I could do a animal like this, nigga, you ain't far away, nigga. Wow.
The only difference is what's on the chopping block. But then, one night, Clyde Bennett vanished. No body. No explanation. Just gone. The police barely looked into it. Some said Clyde ran off. Others whispered that he finally crossed the wrong man. Marcel never spoke about it. He just took over what was left, his father's knowledge, his money, and his ability to make things disappear. Instead of reopening the meat plant, Marcel had a bigger vision. With the money left behind, he launched Bennett's Smokehouse and Grill in Houston's Fifth Ward. He wanted a fresh start. A place where he could control his own empire. A place where people would respect him, not just as a butcher, but as a man of power. And it worked. His barbecue was legendary. The kind of meat that made people close their eyes after the first bite. Tender. Juicy. Rich. Customers came from all over, swearing that his burgers had a taste they couldn't find anywhere else.
My bad, but hey, I bet, man. Like, wow. Wow. This nigga feeding niggas human burgers, man. Shake my head.
But behind the grill, behind the charm, behind the perfectly seasoned patties, was a secret even darker than his father's. Because Marcel never really left the butchery business. And soon, Houston would find out the true cost of his success. Renee Bennett had always been drawn to power. It wasn't just about money or success, it was about the way a man carried himself.
She cute too. Don't say he butchered her, man.
The way he made others bend to his will without saying a word. That was Marcel Bennett. They met when she was just 21 years old, working as a waitress at a high-end steakhouse in Houston. Back then, Marcel wasn't just another customer, he was a presence. He dressed sharp, spoke smooth, and left tips that made the other waitresses jealous. But it wasn't just his generosity that caught Renee's eye. It was the way people respected him. How the restaurant manager personally came over to greet him. How the kitchen staff seemed to snap to attention when he ordered. How other men, wealthy, powerful men, looked at him like they owed him something. It was intoxicating. Marcel pursued Renee with the same intensity he put into everything else. Within months, he had her on his arm, dressing in designer clothes, eating in the finest restaurants, living a life she never thought she could have. By 23, she was his wife. At first, it was perfect. Marcel made her feel like a queen. Their home was a beautiful, custom-built house just outside the city, decorated with the finest furniture. She drove a luxury car. She had everything she ever wanted. Or so she thought. As the years passed, Renee began to see the other side of Marcel. At first, it was little things, rules that seemed harmless. She wasn't allowed to go into the restaurant's walk-in freezer. She wasn't allowed to ask about where the meat came from. If deliveries were late, there was never a shortage of product.
And you didn't pay attention to none of them red flags. Look, people be blinded by luxury shit, man. Real talk. And he telling you shit, man. That shit is...
Somehow, Marcel always had fresh meat, even when his suppliers swore they were backed up. At first, she didn't question it. She knew better than to pry into Marcel's business. His empire was built on secrecy, efficiency, and absolute control. She had no problem playing the role of the perfect wife. Until her cousin Lisa went missing. Lisa Dupree was her favorite cousin. They grew up together, sharing secrets, sneaking out to parties, protecting each other from the world. When Renee married Marcel, Lisa was the only one who saw the warning signs. "I don't trust him," Lisa had said one night, swirling her drink at the bar. "He's too calculated." Renee brushed it off. Lisa never liked men with too much power. Then one day, Lisa vanished. No goodbye. No trace. No clues. Renee was devastated, but Marcel? He barely reacted.
That's why it's best not to stick your nose in other people's business. And now this nigga got your ass on the chopping block. You done came up there meddling, talking about what you don't like and this and that, instead of you preparing them burgers, them human burgers for you want to stick your nose in the business, and now you part of the burger. What the hell?
It's Houston, he said with a shrug. People go missing every day.
Damn.
That was when the unease set in. Because Renee remembered something, Lisa had come to visit her just days before she disappeared. And she had been asking questions. Questions about Marcel's restaurant. Questions about why his meat tasted so different. Questions about why certain employees seemed terrified of him. Renee couldn't shake the feeling that Lisa had gotten too close. And when she started digging for answers, she realized she was next. The night the truth unraveled, the air in the Bennett household was thick with tension. Marcel had been drinking more than usual, his heavy footsteps unsteady as he stumbled into their bedroom, the stench of whiskey clinging to his clothes. Renee watched as he collapsed onto the mattress, his breathing slow and deep. Passed out cold. Her heart pounded against her ribs. This was her only chance. For years, she had respected his rules. She had ignored the warnings. She had looked the other way when things didn't add up. But not anymore. Not after Lisa. The forbidden door. Barefoot, Renee crept down the hallway, past the grand staircase, and out the back door where Marcel kept the keys to the restaurant. The night was quiet, too quiet. Marcel's employees were long gone, and the usually busy street outside Bennett's smokehouse and grill was eerily still. The only sound was the rhythmic buzzing of a faulty street lamp and the occasional scurrying of rats in the alley. She hesitated at the entrance. This was the point of no return. If Marcel ever found out she had stepped foot inside that freezer, she wouldn't live to regret it. But she had to know. With trembling fingers, she slid the key into the lock and pushed the door open, stepping inside. The walk-in freezer, where the truth lived. The freezer was massive, stretching the entire length of the back kitchen. Large industrial shelves lined the walls, stacked with vacuum-sealed packages of meat, or what she had always been told was meat. Her breath formed clouds in the freezing air as she stepped deeper inside. Then she saw it. A steel table, scratched and stained, positioned in the center of the room. On it, a butcher's saw, a set of knives, and a bloodied apron. The stench hit her next, not just the metallic tang of blood, but something worse. Something that made her stomach churn. She reached for one of the plastic-wrapped packages on the nearest shelf. Her fingers trembled as she pulled it closer, squinting at the label written in black marker. She expected it to say beef. Or pork. But it didn't. It read. Left arm. Renee's stomach twisted. She snatched another package. Thigh. Another. Torso. Her vision blurred as she stumbled back, hitting the steel table. A knife clattered to the floor, the sound echoing through the frozen chamber. Her entire world spun. This wasn't just a restaurant. Marcel had been serving human flesh. And then, the final horror. On the far side of the room, beneath a blood-soaked tarp, something glimmered under the fluorescent light. A gold bracelet. She knew that bracelet. She had seen Lisa wearing it 100 times. With shaking hands, she reached for it, turning it over. Her worst fear was confirmed. Lisa had been here. And now, she knew what had happened to her. Marcel had butchered her own cousin. Renee's breath came in shallow gasps. She had to get...
Wow. true story too. That's what's so crazy. So a lot of people in Houston then ate some of this human. If you ever been to that restaurant, that shit is crazy. And I know that lady is messed up. For real, like, man, to even fathom that. And y'all can go watch the rest of it on True Crime Department. You know what I mean? They only play so much of it, you feel me? But wow. And it get even crazier. So if I go over there and subscribe and watch the rest of that on True Crime Department, y'all. But I appreciate y'all, man. Subscribe to the channel. It is what it is, man. 1942. No matter.